don't forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
Tell me about your brother. At one point, he was dating Kim. Tell me the story of
My brother.
It was your blood brother.
Yeah, my blood brother.
Was dating Kim.
Yeah.
Okay, I did have that story right.
You got it correct.
And he was killed?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
In 99.
How did it happen?
Yeah, shot.
You say that and toss your hand like it happens every day.
We all from the street. Like, it's not like we not new to something like that.
Yeah.
The streets swallowed them up. Allah called them back. That's the best way I could say that.
Basically, coming back from the 80s, you know what I'm saying? That's when we grew up, everybody used to, run around here thinking they tough, especially not. He was running around here beating up on niggas, until niggas was putting the beats back on them. And then that's when it came from the guns. That's when niggas started putting up them hammers. You know what I'm saying? Because if Wise was still here, Nut would still be alive. You know what I'm saying? Then everybody, all these other niggas getting killed for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else got killed for nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
because it all was a chain. You know what I'm saying? It all leading from a chain. Wise got killed. They thought Nut killed Wise. They went chasing after Wise. Nut. They killed Nut. You know what I'm saying? They killed Nut. Now, they killed Homo because Homo was Nut Man.
So what you think about Nut? How he gets self mixed up in this? You think he got?
Cause Nut was a troublemaker. That was my man. That nigga was a stone troublemaker. You know what I'm saying? But they just didn't like Nut style. That's all. Nut was my man. You know what I'm saying? I like this style. I fuck with him, but you got to play from a distance. But niggas just got jealous of Nut, and Nut, it went down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a couple times I was with Nut. The nigga, me and Nut walking together, and him, Wise come. I'm in the middle of it. These niggas start shooting. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh man, these niggas is going crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I see Wise the next day. He's like, nah, man, I'm gonna kill that nigga. I'm like, come on, for what, baby, bro?
For him and Nut?
Yeah.
The niggas was having, so you said they was having ongoing beef like that?
Yeah, that shit been going on for years, man.
Years.
Years. Just, not have beef with everybody, though, man. You know what I'm saying? Not just Wise. You know what I'm saying? World. That World really got into that because World and Wise World and Nut used to hang out all the time. Right. Before Wise got killed.
In Don Diva's 51st issue, dated August 2013, they featured an article titled Old Gangsters and Young Guns, Do or Die Bad Style. They did a great job of covering the back and forth war between CMB and Damon World Hardy's battles against the person that I'm covering today, Ivory Davis. However, if you didn't read the article in full and just looked at the title, it wouldn't be furthest from the story. Hey, what up though? It's Shay's Popalot. Salute the almighty mob. Now this story takes place in Lafayette Gardens Housing Projects, or LG, located in one of Brooklyn's toughest neighborhoods, Bed-Stuy. The neighborhood known to most by its most famous resident, but it's the beginning of his name that the neighborhood could be most associated with, Notorious. Littered with housing projects like Brevoort, Tompkins, Roosevelt or RV, Marcy, and LG, just to name a few. It's easy to see why the neighborhood got the nickname Do or Die. Now, the title of the Don Diva article might suggest some young niggas taking over the projects from some older dudes, though that was kind of the case with CMB. And the story concerning Nut, it was totally different, with Nut and World being cool with each other, possibly bonding over growing up in the projects, and similar ways to how I met people and still know them to this day. Their friendship would presumably last until the early 1990s, when the war between CMB and Nut would begin. And it possibly wasn't triggered by the murder of World's big brother, a mentor like most big brothers are in a sense. But even their relationship seemed to be on a different level. Depending on how you look at it, some could say it started at the turn of the decade with the murder of a CMB's associate father in early 1991 that Tyrone, the brother of Daryl Hamo Baum, was involved in. It would be a robbery that would take the life of the father of future CMB member, Ed Taz Cook. Although the name might sound unfamiliar, he was the person that Mike Tyson supposedly put a $50,000 bounty on his head, along with Damon World Hardy. Ironically, it could be Tyrone, Tyson's close friend's brother, to blame for the war, depending on how you look at it. However, the war wouldn't escalate fully until a few years later, as Tyrone Baum would be sentenced to 6 to 12 years on a manslaughter charge for that robbery turned murder. The next strike in the war wouldn't occur until nearly a decade later with the death of World's big brother, Myron Wise Hardy. Now, I explained earlier about their relationship being different. I'm not quite sure about their exact family structure, as not much is said about it, besides they would grow up in a Muslim household. However, with Wise being World's big brother, and the stature that he would go on to gain in LG was immense. Just reading the newspaper clippings, articles, and even listening to the interviews, one of which y'all can find with a close associate of both parties, being Nut and World, and even Wise really, Puerto Rican Mikey, and an interview that he would do with Saint Laz that has a good YouTube channel that I would recommend y'all to go check out for good content. He talks in depth about Wise and his hustle and how not only he would have the projects and LG locked up, but he will also play out of town as well. He would end up being killed by the nephew of Nut and what would be explained as a battle for drug turf. And though the two have been cool in the past, it would be that murder that would really trigger everything. Nut will also go on to make a name for himself as somebody in LG with family in the projects and a history of getting busy. He will be arrested in 1993 on an attempt robbery charge and sentenced to 1 to 3 years, but would max out on that time and would be released in 1996. World would be locked up around the same time on the witness tampering and shooting at a narcotics cop charge, causing him to be hit with a 2 to 6 year sentence. But it wouldn't be to the murder of Wise in 1999 that would set the shit full scale. Nut would be involved in several shootings and set attempts before he would end up being murdered as part of the beef, one of which being a February 2000 shooting at the famed NYC nightclub, The Tunnel, with a spokesperson for the club telling the New York Times at the time that Sunday nights are especially a problem at the Tunnel, with Sundays being hip-hop night and the events lasting to the early mornings. At the time, something probably they looked at as a hip-hop beef was probably the first attempt, if that, by CMB on Nut's life. But being described as he was, it possibly could have been something else, as he was said to be one to get active in LG and to rise to the point that he did in the drug game inside of the projects. It probably had to come with some violence. And that's the thing with the drug game. To get bigger in it, you got to deal with competition. And though him and World had assumably been cool since kids, Wise was competition, bottom line. And though it was Nut's nephew, Ivory Davis, that would kill Myron Wise Hardy in mid-June 1999 in front of some mailboxes on 456 Lafayette Street, it might as well been Nut, because that put him right in the crosshairs of World and CMB. People would go on record in interviews talking about the extended beef between Wise and Nut, with them exchanging bullets and shootouts. But with the murder of Wise, Nut had to expect an impending war with World that the Don Diva magazine article would suggest that his relationship with Daryl Hamo Baum might have been strategic, with everybody knowing exactly how loyal Hamo was. Hamo recently being released from a 15-year prison sentence that should have just been around 6 or 7 years, touching the pavement again on New Year's of 1999, ready to bring in the new millennium, only to find himself in the middle of a war that I'm not even sure he had any inclinations of. Him and Tyrone's sister, who once dated and has a child by Brooklyn rapper Mano, Zakia Bomb, would say about his death that would occur on June 10th, 2000, just months after his release, that she believed that he was set up by a female that he was supposedly supposed to meet on the corner of Quincy and Marcy in Brooklyn at about midnight. The very next month, in July of 2000, Nut would be convicted for slashing a Brooklyn club owner and was scheduled for sentencing in that case. So after being shot at the Tunnel nightclub in February, his muscle being killed in June, add on the murder of his alleged associate, a guy by the name of Kojak, in June of 1999, just days after the murder of Wise by his nephew, Nut had to be feeling some pressure, but in true fashion of a gangster, you would never be able to tell that, as almost 2 months after the murder of his friend Daryl Hamo Bomb, Nut would find himself out and about on the town on August the 11th, 2000, double parked outside of Club MV, located on Spring Street in the wee hours of the morning at about 4 a.m., according to an article on CNN about his murder titled Rap Exec Gunned Down. And an article posted on the day of his death, they were looking to retaliation as a motive as early on as then, saying that he had been suspected in the murder and the victim of 2 prior attempts on his life, one being that Tunnel nightclub shooting. The article would go on further to say that investigators believe that the shooter may have been retaliating against him, saying that he had a lengthy rap sheet and he was suspected in a recent killing in Brooklyn. The article would say that Nut had apparently just left the club and was parked in his Range Rover talking to friends when gunmen, who the government would allege was Aaron eBay Moore, would race up to the window and unload at least 4 shots, 2 of the bullets passing through the driver's seat, hitting Nut in the back. He would manage to drive off down Spring Street, where it would slam into and kill a 38-year-old Swedish music video director by the name of Johan Kamitz. The war wouldn't end there, with multiple other people losing their lives, where it ultimately seemed like it being capped off with the murder of Daryl Hamo Bomb's brother, who some people can say started the war, Tyrone T-Rock Bomb. After being released from his 6 to 12 year sentence for the robbery murder that you can kind of say might have started the war, he would look to avenge the death of his younger brother Hamo. And as his sister Zakia would explain in the interview with Don Diva, T-Rock, being an old school gangster, he would put the word out that he was looking for anybody involved in the murder of his brother Hamo. She would say that being cool in the 70s and the 80s, now it's different. People are rats and you can't trust them. And that information could come back to haunt you, as it did, as World and several members of CMB would allegedly track him down to his job at a construction site, shooting him 3 times in the head fatally. Nas once had an infamous line in one of his greatest songs titled The Message that explains this situation to me perfectly. And I'm intrigued to know how many of y'all can finish it. The line being, a thug changes and love changes. Y'all get in the comment box. Let me know what y'all know. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all definitely get in the comment box to let me know what's y'all take on this situation. What cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what I missed, what I got wrong per usual. Y'all tapping with me directly, Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And y'all know the verdict. I'm going to be back before y'all know it. It's your guy Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.